Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm solving Leetcode question 10, regular expression matching. Given an input string S and a pattern P, implement regular expression matching with the support for dot and then star or asterisk here. So this dot matches any single character. The stars matches 0 or more of the preceding element. The match should cover the entire input string, not partial. In the example 1, S is AA, P is A. The output is false because this pattern A does not cover the entire string AA. In example 2, the string S equals AA, P equals A star. The output is true because this star means match 0 or more of the preceding element. Here in this case, we use we match one of the preceding element. So in that case, AA can be matched to A star. In example 3, X equals to AB and P equals dot star. It is true because A can be matched to any characters, and then this star means it can be matched to any characters 0 or more times. So in that case, it can be matched to AB. So the idea for solving it is using recursive approach top-down. Basically, we are trying different options or different candidate options to match it, and then to see if we can find the matching pattern. Let's say for this example, we have S equals ABC, P equals A star, B star, C star. So compared with the examples given, this one is a little bit longer. So the idea here is like when we are at character A, and then what we are going to first do is to check if the next position in P. Basically here we are using I and then J to point towards the position of the characters we are considering. So at the very beginning, I start as index 0, J start as index 0. So we are comparing the characters at the index I in S and the index J in P to see if we can match these two. But before considering that, because this star has a caveat, it can match 0 or more of the preceding elements. If match 0 of the preceding elements, it means that we are actually skip that. So in this case, we need to first check, okay, if the next position, if J plus 1 position is a star or not. If it is a star, we have the options, let's say, to match 0 of the preceding elements. In that case, we should just move our J pointer to the J plus 2. And then our I remain the same because this one, the A here, character A was not matched. So that's the first scenario. And then let's say in the second scenario, we think we use this star to match one or more of the preceding elements. In this case, we need to compare the element at position I and position J to see if they match each other. So the match each other is, okay, if this SI and PJ, if they are the same character, or this PJ is the dot, which means any character. In this case, we match the character at position I in S and J in P. And then in that case, we move to the next position I plus 1. But for this J, we still remain pointed to at this position A. Why? Because it can match one. Here we are considering match 1 or more, so it can match even more of the character A. So that's why we remain this J pointer J as the original location. But since for the character at original position I, we already matched that, so that we can move on to the next position I plus 1. So that's the case when we have a star in the J plus 1 position. We were considering the matching for helper I and J. This helper I and J, basically we are just using a helper function to represent the subproblems and to do our recursion. This helper actually represent that return if match between the string si to all the way to the end, and then the string pj all the way to the end. Basically, the string s starting at position at index I, and then string p starting at position j with index j. If the position j plus 1, if that's not a star, then we are just matching the current character. So basically, to see, okay, if the characters at position I and j can be matched to each other. So that's kind of just our standard matching condition. So basically, this is the idea for solving it. So let's code this solution. I'm going to using a recursive function, and then this is a top-down approach. So start from the problem and then trying to going down to calculate the sub-problem. So here, one common optimization strategy is to using a cache to store the values previously calculated before. So in order to to avoid the repeated calculation. So in that case, let me initialize a cache using Python dictionary to keep track of the value ij we have already calculated. And then we define a helper function ij here to basically that's kind of match between the substring starting from index I for s and starting from index j for p. And then the first case, if we consider if this value has already been calculated before. If it's already calculated before, then return the value that's already been calculated before. Else, let's try to do the calculation. We first consider the base case. As with any of the recursive solution, we first define and consider the base case. Let's say if j is greater than or equal to the length of p, which means we consider, we move this pointer j up until to the end. We consider all the pattern. So in this case, let's see if we have already covered all the characters in the string s. If we already covered all the characters in string s, which means, okay, in this case, we find the matching case, we just return true. Else, if it's not covered all the characters in string s and we still have characters left in string s, in that case, we just return false. That's the base case. And then now after the base case, so now it could have two different scenarios. First scenario is, okay, j is less than length of, so basically after considering the base case, j is less than p. So we still have pattern remaining, and then the I could be greater than or equal to less s. And then second, I could be within the range of s. So you may be a little bit confused why the first scenario is possible. I mean, we still have character left for p, but we run out of all the characters in string s. Does it automatically return the false? No, that's not the case. That's because we have this special character, the star. Star means matched 0 or more of the preceding elements. So it could possible we consider all the characters in string s, but we still have characters remaining in string p. So let's take a look at this scenario. Let's say for example, we have s equals a, and then we have p equals a star. So it's possible. So we could, okay, we consider this as, and then in this case, we still have a star left for character for the string p. So that's possible. So that's why we still need to continue with the calculation instead of directly return true or false. So Now, after considering the base case, remember this is what left. This is very important because we in the code below, we need to consider if this I is within the range of the index or if this I is out of the range of the index. So in that case, let's start our recursion calculation. So basically, the match right now at position, let's say we first consider special case. Let's say we are trying to match the character as I with PJ. So we are trying to match these two characters. So in that case, we define the match. So match equals to, okay, I has to be within the index. That's kind of how you can retrieve SI. And this SI equals PJ, or PJ equals the dot, because the dot is also a special character that can match any single character. So if SI equals PI, if SI equals PJ or PJ equals the dot, that means we can match. I mean, the condition is, okay, this I has to be within the range of the index, otherwise it will return error to trying to retrieve SI. So this is our matching condition. Okay. Okay, in that case, we first consider the special character, the star. So if this star, let's say if I plus 1 is within the range of P, and this P, if J plus 1, the J is the pointer for the string P, I is the pointer for string S, and the PJ plus 1 equals the star. So in that case, we need to, okay, star match 0. In that case, is the helper I J plus 2. So that this means, okay, if we match of the 0 of the preceding character, which means, okay, we haven't really matched the character at index I in the string S, and then we just jump to the J plus 2. Remember, J plus 1 is this star. And then here we are considering we are match 0 of the preceding element. So in that case, we should just move on to the J character at position J plus 2 to see if we can match them. So in that case, cache ij equals helper ij plus 1, j plus 2. This is one of the situation. Or the other situation is, let's say we match one or more. So that is actually match and helper I plus 1 j. So because if we are trying to match one or more, so in this case, the character at the position I in S and position J in P, they should match each other. And then after we match that, so we have already matched the character at position I in the string S, so we should move on to the next character. So next position, that's why it's I plus 1. Why we are still remain at J here, that is because this one can match one or more, so we should keep the pointer at this position J to see, okay, if we can match more of the same character. If any of the situation returns true, then we just return true. So that's why it's connected using OR. let's say if we do not match each other. So basically, let's say pj plus 1, that's not a star. So in that case, we just see if we can do the match at for the character at index I and j. Else if match, then our cache equals ij. We can just move on to the next position. I plus 1, j plus 1. Else, so in that case, we should just get the false because we do not have a match. And then we know that, okay, starting from this position I and j, we could not find a match. So in that case, we can just return false. And then in the end, we just return cache I, j. So this is the recursive function. And then let's return helper 0, 0 to match the entire string S with P. So let's run the code. Okay, so this is the solution for the regular expression matching. So basically, our idea is solving it using recursive approach, top-down, by breaking down into the sub-problem. And then there is a special scenario we need to consider, that is the star, because star indicates match 0 of the preceding elements or one or more of the preceding elements. That's why we need to consider the two different scenarios. So this is my solution. So if you like my video, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel.